Welcome to today's Farm Life. I'm Doug Cunningham. Now that producers are ready to head back out into the field and turn some dirt, I thought it would be a great time to sit down and talk a little bit about the weather, like this crazy wind we've been dealing with, which seems like forever, what we can expect for precip and temperatures as we go down through the growing season this summer. So I got a hold of state climatologist Laura Edwards, and we looked at what we can expect through the growing season this summer.
I think kind of the main story here is as we progress through the spring and into the summer, we have increasing chances of both warmer and drier conditions in South Dakota. So the outlook for May, for the month of May, shows actually odds leaning a little towards cooler than average for the month of May. But as we look towards June, July, and August, it flips towards more warmer than average conditions. And by the time we look at midsummer, June, July, and August, pretty much all of the region, well, really almost all of the lower 48 states have probabilities leaning towards warmer than average. And I'm seeing higher and higher confidence of that temperature outlook for the summer season. So again, May looks like it may start off cooler than average for the season, but June, July, August looks like leaning towards warmer than average.
It can be warmer as long as it rains, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and precipitation is a little less certain in May. So the far northwest corner looks like slightly enhanced chances of wetter than average, but then the southeast corner, odds leaning towards drier than average, but most of the state mostly leaning in the middle, equal chances of wetter, drier, or near average, and that's for the month of May. As we get towards June, July, and August again, we see increasing probabilities of drier than average, and that's also been pretty consistent the last couple months here in the climate outlook. So it looks like May, leaning towards slightly cooler maybe, with equal chances, more or less, of precipitation being near average. But as we get deeper into the summer, I think the story here is drought could linger or return and intensify in the summer season.
Now, there are parts of the state that are already in that position because of the winter we just came off from. So really, I would think not really good news unless you look at May and kind of hang on to that month and hope we get a lot. But it looks like kind of bad news as far as summer goes, as far as precip and hot.
Yeah, and even April so far, we're in the third week of April, going on the fourth week, and we have not seen a lot of moisture, especially in the south central part of the state and out west. For the most part, we've missed a lot of the big precipitation events, that North Dakota has seen, for example. So I think the south central part of the state especially has seen degrading or worsening drought conditions. Even just this week on the drought monitor, they got one category worse down in that area. So we haven't had much recovery since the fall for most of the state that has been experiencing drought. The one area that really has been wet has been the northeast corner. There's about a 3-county area up there. That Dame, Marshall, Roberts County area has been wet, not experiencing any drought. In fact, I think they would be happy to share some water with the rest of us. But I'm concerned that even if we see some short-term improvements here, in May, if that's the case, that longer term through the season, we could see drought return or get worse.
Now, is this a cycle, or is it just weather patterns that are laying together, just the perfect storm, so to speak, for the winter and into the summer, or is this a cycle?
I don't know that I wouldn't say that this is a cycle. This is pretty unusual now to have our second going into third summer of drought for some parts of the state. And we haven't seen a multi-year drought really probably since the early 2000s, about 15 years ago. So we have seen drought, in 2012, 2016, 17, some years here and there, but to have consecutive years of drought, this is pretty unusual. One climate pattern that we have been looking at that has been a factor all throughout this time has been La Nina, where we've had 2 La Nina years in a row. And what's really interesting is looking ahead in the long-term, forecast towards even next winter. There's a chance that we could see even a 3rd year of La Nina again next winter, and that would be very, very unusual. We don't see that really at all.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a player in our warm and dry outlook right now, La Nina in the summer. And no 2 La Ninas are exactly alike. Same with El Nino. No 2 years are exactly alike. But certainly I'm concerned just in this growing season ahead here. And given that we have a lot of drought around us and to the south, in our summer season, our climate pattern pulls moisture up from the Gulf of Mexico and from the southern plains. And that's what brings our moisture in the summer. But we have a lot of drought to our south that's concerning. That's really just kind of blowing warm, dry air up our way and not a lot of moisture so far.
Speaking of blowing, let's talk a little bit about this wind. I know we're in South Dakota, and I know it's windy, but man, this wind has just been crazy. Is this something is there something going on that is just a once in a while, or is it going to blow itself out? Or tell me a little bit about the wind.
I've had a lot of questions, a lot of comments about the wind this year, and I don't know that we have a good explanation. Earlier in the winter, January and February, we saw a lot of basically dry cold fronts come through, where you see a lot of wind come in, but not a lot of moisture. And we saw a lot of temperature fluctuations. Within a week, we'd be, 20 degrees warmer than average and then 20 degrees below average. To get big temperature swings, you really need wind to bring in both the warm air and from the south and the cold air from the north. So we saw a lot of wind with those temperature swings. But yeah, over the last few weeks, I was just visiting with a fellow meteorologist about this yesterday, and I don't know that we have a good explanation for kind of the recent pattern right now. Might be more of a research question we'll have to dive into after we're done with it.
Well, you can sure make it go away anytime, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of sick of it right now. But I'll say, too, about the wind, it is contributing to increasing water loss across the landscape. I know surface water, which is like stock dams, creeks, are all very dry for all the drought areas, which is about 3/4 of the state right now. But this wind, warm temperatures, really can increase evaporation and water loss, even from a soil that looks dry. The overall message here is be ready for another year of drought. On the cropping side, row crops, a lot of producers, ranchers, or a lot of farmers have crop insurance that can help cover them in the event of a loss in a drought situation. But certainly ranchers have a more dynamic, decision to make as far as, if they're going to sell some cattle, if they're going to try to haul in water and feed,
Yep.
Try to make some other, decisions to keep them afloat. But we hope that people will look at the long-term sustainability of their operation, not just try to manage through the current situation as best you can, but look at what the long-term implications might be too, and some opportunities maybe to make some changes that you haven't really been motivated or thought about doing yet. Try something a little different maybe outside the norm.
State climatologist Laura Edwards. Not really the best news. Looks like a hot, dry summer ahead, but some good advice. Maybe now is the time that we need to sit down and think about some things and plan ahead. Remember, feel good about what you do today, because what you do today is very important. Until next time, for today's Farm Life, I'm Doug Cunningham.